Hello, everyone. My name is Alyssa Davis. I'm an assistant programmer here at Outfest, and I am so excited that we are here with our girls block filmmakers and actors. Everyone say hello, hello, hello. So I'm going to get right into it and start with our first film in the block, which is called Babydyke. So our writer-director is here. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Tone and I'm from Denmark, and I directed and co-wrote Babydyke.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. So I love that this film is just the scenery, the setting, the characters just feel so resonant. Like, is this based on how the queer scene really operates in Copenhagen? Did you kind of use your own experience in the scene to inform your film?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's all the actors are queer and most of them are my friends, and I've spent a lot of years in the queer scene, and I've get asked this question a lot, especially from straight cis journalists: is it really that bad? And I want to say that I'm interested in portraying a toxic friend group and kind of bullying in the queer scene. So the Danish queer scene is vibrant and amazing and a lot of things. But
yeah, can you talk a little bit about that community? It's kind of like both like supportive but toxic at the same time, and like there's maybe some internalized homophobia going on there. Like, so what? How did you decide you wanted to kind of balance all those elements?
Well, I think at the time I had spent a lot of years in the queer scene and I'd had some amazing experiences, but queer people are people, and we bully each other and we hurt each other and we involuntarily enforce norms upon each other. And I think I'd just gotten from kind of an experience with something like that. And it feels especially hurtful because I think you're very vulnerable when you're a minority in a community where there's like bullying going on, just as in any other community.
Yeah.
So I wanted to show a nuanced portrayal of that, not just queer people as like these martyrs, these like perfects. I don't think that's realistic and
yeah.
real.
Totally. And I love if you could just speak a little bit about working with your lead actor. They just do such a great job embodying all this like insecurity, but like yearning to be a part of this group. And, you know, how did you work with, is it Fred is the lead actor? How did you work with them?
Yeah, I mean, I found Anna at a really, really good time. She's an amazing actress and we're making the film together right now. But I was also just very lucky to find her at a time where she was brand new in the queer scene and had like never really met that many other queer people, and she was 16 and really like naturally I could feel that in the casting just looked up a lot to Levi, who plays the older sibling, and I just used that natural like admiration and also slight, I think she was like scared but also looking very much up to all these cool queers from the city, and she was from a bit outside the city, and I think I just that in the film.
Well, you did such a great job, you know, kind of portraying this like this on the edge of innocence and going into the next phase of your like identity. So congratulations. Thank you so much for having Babydyke be at Outfest. I'm going to move on to Tinder, which is written and directed by Felicia Pride.
Hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
Wonderful. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Good. Well, your film is beautiful. There's just this intimacy between your two actors, and it feels almost like the film just revolves around this closeness between them. How did you decide you wanted, but it's more than just a sexual closeness, like how did you decide you wanted to kind of pull that out of them and that be more about what the film is about rather than like the sexual encounter?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of show well, I think I write things that I want to see. So number one, I've never had a one night stand that ends in such a beautiful morning after. So what could a healthy morning after look like? But I also just really was interested in like these bonds between Black women, and how there's this emotional intimacy that can happen. That the physical intimacy could be there, but like, what does the emotional intimacy look like? What does it look like when you feel safe? What does it look like when you're able to bring down your guards? So that's what I was really, really interested in pursuing, was that piece of it.
Yeah, and I love that it's like set as like the morning after, and like initially I was like, oh, she's about to like jet, like get out of there. But then you kind of subvert the expectation or that trope. Is that something that you had going on the forefront of your mind when writing this? Like, I want to totally subvert expectations about what that trope can look like.
Yeah, again, because I haven't experienced it, so I'm like, oh, it would be nice to see what that looks like. But you know, she wanted to jet, so I think it's also about like, you know, when we allow ourselves to kind of be vulnerable, what could happen? When we allow ourselves to be open, when we allow ourselves to feel desire, to lean into desire, what could possibly happen, and good stuff can come from that.
Oh, yes, definitely. And if you could also just speak a little bit about working with your two actors, because they are so wonderful and they have that connection just instantly. What was that process like? How did you find them? Did you like write for these two specific actors you knew that wanted to have?
I didn't actually. One actress, Pharrell Walker. So we have two lead actors, Pharrell Walker and Trishana Clark. And Pharrell actually was I was taking a director's workshop. She was one of the actors in the directing workshop, and I saw her work and I was blown away. I just like, I need to work with her and I want to work with her. So I just felt very grateful to be able to do that. And then Trishana, I don't know, they made my job very easy. So they just really dropped into those moments and that vulnerability. And I think also as a director, allowing them the space to do that. And then our collaborators, our crew, allowing the space for those moments to breathe, I think went a long way. We of course rehearsed, so that helped as well. We did some exercises for them to feel comfortable with intimacy and that sort of thing, and then also rehearsed. But they really just brought their shit to it, their craft, and I was very grateful.
Well, they deliver it beautifully, and you wrote and directed a gorgeous film. So thank you so much for bringing it to Outfest, and I can't wait to see what you have next.
Thank you for screening. Thank you so much.
So next up we have Swipe Up Vivian, and I believe we have the director and writer here. Would you all like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, hey, I'm Addison. I wrote and produced Swipe Up Vivian. Hannah?
Hey, I'm Hannah. I directed Swipe Up Vivian.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so as our online audience knows, this is very timely because essentially something maybe, futuristic, dystopian has happened. They're stuck inside. You cannot date in person. And so watching this during the pandemic is just like, oh my God. So I just love the fact that y'all did this. And of course, I'm assuming you didn't. This happened way before the pandemic.
Well, I'm actually a medium and predicted the pandemic, but decided to put it into a film instead of warn the world. So, no, we filmed it way longer ago. It's funny, yeah.
Well, what is it about dating apps that you like wanted to kind of tease out with this? No, it's like we pretty much all use dating apps now, but this is being a little bit taking it to the next level, I guess.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with like Slight Future and like what like the like next level of like something that could look at. And when I was writing this, it's like a trilogy that all kind of has to do with like queer people's relationship with artificial intelligence, and like there is always kind of like something weird happening, and like I don't know, I'm always nervous about the world ending, and I have a huge fear of dying. So I was like, well, if I do end up being agoraphobic and like staying inside, like what like would that like kind of next level look like? And it's just virtual dating in our living rooms and wearing slippers and being sad.
And Hannah, how did you connect with Addison on the script? And what was that process like? I mean, it feels like the film is kind of referencing a lot of different like sci-fi touchstones, like rom-com tropes, like how is that balancing that all out?
So Addison and I have worked on a few things together. We made a web series a few years ago called Kappa Force. And this like series was something that Addison and I had been talking about. The film was something we had been talking about for a while. And then we really just tried to give ourselves a deadline to be like, we have to make it by like this time. Because originally I was kind of playing with the idea of filming this in like an RV in Joshua Tree, like somewhere completely remote. But then I was sort of shifted gears and was like, okay, we're going to film in Chicago because that's where I lived at the time. And there's so many really cool architectural pieces in Chicago that lend itself to this like future, but still like outdated aesthetic, which is what we were shooting for. And so we filmed in the Marina Towers, which are like those corncob buildings that are super iconic in Chicago. And it had been my first time ever inside of them, but it was so fitting for like the tone of the movie and like, yeah, like something very relatable, but also the look of it itself is very futuristic, despite how they were built in like the 50s. And yeah, I mean, Addison and I have a great like collaborative background, and this was a really fun piece to sort of dive in with him.
Yeah.
And
shooting
I'm really proud of how it turned out.
Oh, sorry. It did turn out really well, and I was just
you're good.
impressed with shooting in such a confined space as well. And you really bring that to the forefront. Like I felt closed in, just like your lead. Was that? How did you manage to get that shoot done in such a tight space?
It was a very funny process. Addison, I'm sure has a lot to say, but I like had this friend who's like a really relentless location scout. Like he's not even really in the film industry, but he's like a shameless dude who went into Marina Towers and just like knocked on people's doors. And this is like a very like private like building. And he found us like a room or an apartment to film in, but we also had an apartment on another floor that we like had as like staging. And it was very much like shuffle, 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 film this way, shuffle, 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 film this way. Yeah. It was very confined. That is definitely how it was filming.
Well, I also truly don't understand how people live in that place. It's like famous and iconic, but they're basically like pie shaped, and you feel like you're in like, I mean, it's like brutalism, right? You just feel like you want to die. So it was like perfect. I was like, these are so famous. They're on like Wilco albums, but I would never ever live there ever in my life.
Yeah.
Well,
really crazy buildings
for creating such a timely short, and I think one we can all relate to right now. I can't wait to see what your next collaboration might be. I'm going to move on to Meet Cute, and we have a whole team here. If you would like to introduce yourselves and your role on the film.
Hi, I'm Francesca. I'm the actress, writer, producer, director of the film. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Omar. I co-wrote and directed with Frank.
Hi, I'm Nicole, and I acted in it.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. So this film is fun because, I mean, let's face it, I think we've all like been at this situation, the meet cute, you know, like, so I'd love to know, you know, is this a particular meet cute that happened in real life, or was this just like inspired by, you know, your observations of other meet cutes, or?
Yeah, so I originally started like this, I think meet cute was a little bit of an unintentional project. I originally wanted to just create content that I was excited to act in and put on my reel. I knew that like I would like love to be in rom-coms, and I love like the moment of falling in love and like little like flirty things in the beginning of that. And originally I was writing it, and I was originally writing it as a girl and a guy. And I grew up in an environment where like there weren't a lot of queer people at all. And when I went to college, I went to theater school and I was like around LGBTQ, and all of a sudden I had like strange feelings, and I was like, why am I feeling weird around like my gay best friend. And I had this like big revelation of like being really upset with it everywhere I grew up, because there were these like unconscious biases that I had internalized. And so when I was writing it, I was like, oh wow, like why couldn't this be two girls? Like why couldn't that be something? So I ended up changing it, and I was very intentional about it, and writing with Omar about it being this like pure, just delightful moment of two people like getting the inkling of a spark with each other, because that's so fun to watch. And also like if someone's uncomfortable, I wanted it to maybe make them question about like the unconscious biases like that they have and stuff. Yeah.
Omar, anything to add? Because as co-writer, correct? You know, was this something that you'd also been planning out, or how did y'all even meet and collaborate on this in the first place?
Yeah, me and Fran have been friends for a long time. I would think like maybe like 4 or 5 years now or something like that. And so we every summer we kind of try to make a project together. And Fran came to me with this idea, and I thought like it was really great because the reason why I was really drawn to it was just the situation of two people like falling in love in a gynecologist's office. I thought was hilarious, and I thought it was like such like a pure moment that you don't really like see on screen. And kind of to Fran's point, I think that a really important aspect of this film is kind of normalizing queer stories and LGBT stories that are where like it's as amazing and important it is to have films that are centered around, you know, queerness. I think that it's also equally as important for minority stories to be normalized and to have just these very pure, amazing moments that are with people who are queer, LGBTQ plus, because it helps normalize it in our culture.
Yeah, and Nicole, I mean, we've been speaking about how cute this moment is. Well, you helped make it that way. You and Fran's chemistry it just like lights up the screen. Have y'all worked together before? How did you like work together to build that on-screen chemistry?
Well, we actually met in a commercial workshop. It was like very fortuitous. We just really like kind of hit it off as friends right away. And Fran helped me with some stuff with the YouTube channel I had shortly after. And then she approached me when she was conceiving of a queer script because she wanted to consult with me. I've been not only out for an embarrassingly long time, but also I've been working in queer media for a very long time. So we sat down and talked through a lot of just the ins and outs of that, telling that kind of relationship, and particularly maybe for someone who had never, at least one party who had never experienced that before. And in that context, we were talking about it as actually a feature and a dramatic feature. But what ended up coming out of that, and Fran, you can speak more to this, is the short. And so, you know, she sent, I was like, I'm down to do whatever you want me to do. I trust you and whatever. And she sent me this script, and I was like, this is definitely even better than I imagined it would be. And I love acting in romantic comedy, and I don't get to do it very much. I get cast, which is like very typical of a certain type of queer woman. You get cast as like the tough girl all the time, and very rarely ever seen as like the romantic lead. And so being able to flex that muscle was just like absolutely delightful, and Fran made it so easy, and it was just a really, really fun shoot.
Well, you pull it off so well. Thank you so much for Meet Cute. I can't wait till I can have like an in-person Meet Cute again. So congrats. Next up, we have DM, which is also really fun and really relatable because, again, let's face it, who hasn't had a DM? Or like, I mean, would the team at DM like to introduce themselves? I think we have the team here.
Sure. Hi, I'm Ariel. I am the writer, director, and producer of DM.
Hi, I'm Daryl. I am the producer and I acted in DM.
Hi, I'm Pallavi. I just acted in it.
And so, I mean, I myself have a lot of anxiety around the DM as this, but y'all make it so fun, like, cause you know, I think you kind of take the anxieties and and make it hilarious. Ariel, what, was that something you were intentionally thinking about when you were making this film? Why did you want to approach it as a comedy?
Yeah, I think that I approached it as a comedy because in real life it's a horror.
Yeah.
As a queer woman, it's very complex to find love, especially on the internet. And I found myself having a very similar conversation with, a friend late one night about, DMs and sliding into the DMs and how this has, transformed from, beautiful love sonnets to now having to like get in a few characters, how much I want to get to know you / bang. And it's like, there's no in between.
Yeah.
And I wanted to approach it as a comedy too, because I have a lot of, queer friends in my life who are completely platonic and, we're both queer, but it seems like whenever I see it online or on screen, it's always ends up being a romance. And I just wanted to see some platonic, joy and support for each other, even through this tragedy. And I also believe that, tragedy makes the best comedy.
Yeah, and Daryl and Pallavi, y'all are so funny. And were the scenarios you're bringing up around the DM, like, was any of that improvised? Like, it feels like y'all are just riffing. Like, how was that shooting that? And then was that any of that improvised or from your own experience, maybe?
I think that was all written, right? Everything that ended up in it was fully written. But it was fun to do because I completely connected with the script. I'm also a queer woman who is very bad at flirting with other women because they smell so good and they're so nice and I respect them so much. So I totally connected with it. So it was really easy to kind of like dive into that character. Daryl and I went to Carnegie Mellon together like years ago. So when she hit me up to do it, I was like, this is going to be fun. And it was good to like reconnect with her. So we already had like that friendship chemistry.
Got it.
And I was also just very excited to work with a pigeon. I loved
That was scripted. The pigeon was scripted.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
That was the only improvised part.
Okay.
A few catches.
Yeah, but originally Ariel had written the script, but we're partners, so it was nice to be able to read it back to her and kind of like fit it in my mouth so that it sounded like me and, not just like the writer speaking.
Right.
So it was nice to kind of like workshop the script for a little bit and figure out what actually sounds right in our mouths. So then when me and Pallavi, our natural chemistry, I feel like we were just able to, it just felt natural and normal. So maybe that's why it came off as improvisation.
Yeah, it really does. And then just really quickly, last question, what is going on like with this restraining order thing? Like, this is like an undercurrent in the film. Can we just touch on that really quickly?
I think it was just the idea of, it's funny that you ask about that. It was just a joke really to kind of lighten the mood or the expectations that we have of other people. Like, and I think that it's often associated with like, if two women fall in love, like one has the U-Haul ready to go. And I just like, I'm really tired of that trope. And so I wanted to try something that was a little more like, I need my space and you seem cool, but we don't really know each other.
Right.
So I hope it worked.
It did. It's funny. Well, thank you so much for this, like, and again, something I haven't done in a while, but I hope to do it. I guess you could still DM in quarantine, right? That's a thing.
Oh yeah, the DMs are alive.
Okay.
Alive and well.
Well, thank you so much. Our next film is La Amante. I believe we have a whole crew here. If y'all would like to introduce yourselves.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Patty. I'm the director and co-screenwriter of La Mante, or The Mistress.
Hi, I'm here. My name is Adrian. I co-wrote also The Mistress, La Mante.
Hello, everyone. I'm Magali. Forget about my last name. It's too difficult to say in English, but it's Magali Carrasquillo. I'm an actress.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here. And so Patty and Adrian, I just love to know, why did you want to tackle, these two subjects that are not seen that often, two older people in love than two women at that.
Yeah, I think that it kind of flowed very, very naturally. Puerto Rico is very conservative, and there's a lot of stories that we tell that involves older generations, but never in the queer sense, queer stories. And we kind of wanted to work with the cliche that kind of telenovela, the funeral, the mistress comes, but we felt like, what if that mistress is not from the dead person, but from the widow? And it kind of like flowed very natural. And we thought it was important to tell a queer story from Puerto Rico, from the older generation.
I remember wondering, like, also, like, I thought about my grandmother, like, what if my grandmother, like, did she ever fall in love in her, like, last years of life? And did she ever fall in love with a woman, and why not? And that was just like,
yeah,
we started talking about that, and from there, it, like, the script.
And you mentioned that, you know, Puerto Rico is a little conservative. You know, what was the reaction to you filming this script there? You know, did the community know? You know, how was it received?
Yeah, I'm actually part of the queer community here. So it's alive. It's really small, but it's very present. Even though, like, traditionally Puerto Rico is very Catholic and conservative, and our uprising is as well. But so far, the queer community has loved it. I mean, it's really fun. It's also like we don't focus, like, the issue or the conflict of the short is not being queer. Like, that's just part of the characters. And I think those narratives are needed, are really necessary, because oftentimes we, like, wallow in, like, the whole, like, coming out of the closet storyline, which are important, but, like, I believe we need, like, the other side of it, like a brighter side of the stories.
And Magali, how is that? I mean, your connection with, you know, your past lovers, it's so fun and interesting, and also kind of there's this tension there. How did y'all work to get kind of that past into this present story? You know, did y'all create a backstory for yourselves? It's all hinted at, you know.
Well, I must say that one thing about the process that was really, really amazing for me was that at the beginning, I didn't knew what role I was gonna play. As what the director wanted to meet us, Awilda Sterling, that's not here, my co-actress, and it was amazing. Not reading the script, liking it a lot. Being surprised by it, and not knowing which part I was going to play. And then I met Patty. We talked about it. We talked about the script, about the characters, and then she decided. And that was really, really challenging and interesting, because I was thinking about both of them, and what about my own life I can relate to each one of them, right? It was really amazing.
Well, congratulations to all three of you. I'm so glad that you know, you made this in Puerto Rico, and hopefully more stories like this get to be told as well. So congratulations. Our last film in the block is Victoria. And I believe we have a team here. If y'all would like to introduce yourselves.
Bueno, yo claro, es que no sé inglés, por eso estoy con cara aburrida. My face is bored because I don't understand nothing, sorry, but Lorena, the another actress, she, que está llegando, que ella que se va a conectar ahora, ¿vale? Pues yo soy Abril Zamora, que soy una de las dos actrices protagonistas del cortometraje Victoria. Y ya está.
I don't know.
Hi. I introduce myself.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't speak English, so soy Daniel Toledo, soy el guionista y el director de Victoria, y nada, pues que estoy súper contento de estar aquí hoy con vosotros.
Thank you. So director Danny and actress Abril, thank you so much for being here. I'm maybe Patty, I'm not sure if you're able to. Yeah, that'd be great. Well, y'all, this film is beautiful. I'd love to know, Danny, what about this, the flower, the Victoria flower, like, is that where the inspiration for this film came from? Because it anchors it at the end, but it feels like the whole film was maybe about that.
Ok, pues la pregunta es sobre la flor victoriana que está en la película, que de dónde vino eso. No he visto la película, sí, no sé, pero de dónde vino esa idea.
Pues, bueno, realmente a mí el mundo de las flores y todo esto, pues es un mundo que yo desconocía, pero mi pareja, mi novio de muchos años ya, es florista y un día, pues, realmente yo le estaba contando esta historia que tenía entre manos y que quería escribir y me apetecía mucho, pues, relacionarlo con algo que tuviese que ver con la naturaleza y con la naturaleza de las cosas y bueno, fue básicamente él, que sabe muchísimo de botánica, quien me dijo, oye, pues sabes que hay una planta que hace esto y que es muy bonita y está muy buena. Y entonces...
Pues tienes que traducir, Dani, corta, que va a tener que traducirte, la pobre muchacha.
Sí, por favor. Okay, so basically, he said that like he didn't know about the universe of the flowers, about all the kinds of flowers, but he had like a partner who did. So he showed the script to him, and he knew all about flowers and told him about that Victorian flower. And Daniel wanted to have like this natural organic element in the film.
Okay. So yeah, it's a beautiful motif, and Abril, you are beautiful in it. I love that Clara doesn't apologizing for her transition at all. Like, she's very much like, you know, I had to do what I had to do. You know, how did you and Danny like talk about bringing Clara to be, you know, who she is and this confident woman? And we're not seeing her like in transition. She's already past that, and she's just who she is.
Ok, pues pregunta sobre el personaje de Clara, que le encanta que sea una personaje llena de confianza, que no tiene que decir perdón ni disculparse por quien ella es, simplemente es. Y cómo fue la transformación o el desarrollo de ese personaje, la creación de ese personaje.
Pues la verdad es que como veo que queda muy poquito tiempo, voy a contestar y voy a soltar todo lo que pienso en torno al corto, porque voy a intentar ser lo más concisa. Pati, muchísimas gracias, hija. Sí. Para mí fue súper guay porque yo estaba haciendo una serie de televisión y me llegaron algunos proyectos, pero todos los proyectos que me llegaban eran relacionando la transexualidad con la prostitución o con el propio conflicto que puede ser para un personaje la transexualidad. Y lo que me gustó mucho del proyecto es que realmente era un corto que tenía un personaje transgénero, pero que no se centraba exclusivamente en su género ni en su sexualidad, sino en un conflicto de pareja, en realidad, y en un detonante familiar. Entonces, lo trabajamos desde... Claro, Dani es muy buen director y tuve la suerte de que la otra actriz es una de mis mejores amigas. Entonces, lo que más intentamos trabajar, más allá de la creación del personaje, fue como el vínculo entre nosotras dos para que realmente pareciera que teníamos una relación. Hago una pausa para que puedas traducir.
Sí, por favor. Okay. So basically, like she got like a lot of Avril got a lot of screenplays all about transsexual, transgender characters and their conflict with that gender identity or sexuality. But she didn't want to focus on that. She wanted a character whose issue was not her being transgender, but that the conflict emerged from the relationship between the two. Right. She wanted that focus for her story.
Hay algo muy importante en todo esto, que es que una de las cosas que ella ha preguntado, que ella ha dicho en el enunciado de la pregunta, es el hecho de la confianza y la seguridad del personaje. Y es que muchas veces cuando eres una persona que transiciona...
You two work so well together, as the conflict between you is... oh, there's Patty. Hi, Patty. Sorry.
No, but I understand. A little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
O sea, Lorena, ¿has entendido la pregunta más o
Pues
menos?
poquito. Si me traduces un poco, Abril, ¿qué has entendido?
Bueno, yo he entendido algo así que hacemos un trabajo muy bonito juntas y tal, y algo del conflicto, que eso sí que no lo he entendido. Pero bueno, habla un poco de cómo fue el proceso de trabajar juntas y tal, y yo creo más o menos.
Claro.
It feels like we are stepping into this like marriage that has just so many layers, and I mean the script is amazing and doing that, and it's like there's so much conflict going on. I just love to know how you kept that tension going, but then this release at the end when Lorena kind of finally recognizes Abril.
No he entendido nada.
Cuando te reconozco.
Pati.
¡Ay, hola! Gracias.
Pati, por favor.
Es que no sabía cómo volver, perdón. Ok, pues la pregunta es que el filme tiene tantas capas de conflicto entre los personajes y quería que hablara un poquito de ese proceso y cómo mantuvieron la tensión durante todo, o sea, a través de esas capas hasta llegar al final, el release, el soltar del final.
¿Cómo llegamos a esas capas? ¿Cómo mantuvimos esas capas?
Esa tensión.
Esa tensión.
Sí. Bueno, yo creo que también como lo que plantea Dani en esta historia, que es lo que me ha gustado Abril, que ha dicho que no es una historia de transexualidad y tal, sino es un conflicto de pareja dentro de ese cambio, que es un cambio muy profundo y que, por ejemplo, pues mi personaje lo entiende, pero no lo entiende. O sea, hay una parte como, vale, has decidido ser tú, pero yo, ¿en qué lugar queda, no? ¿Dónde estoy yo? Y yo creo que esas cosas, esa confianza, esta cosa se ve, esta pareja que ha vivido como muchos años, que han pasado por muchas cosas, eso está en la cotidianidad, en cómo se miran, en cómo se dicen. Yo creo también trabajar con Abril para mí ha sido un regalo porque es mi amiga y nos conocemos mucho. Perdón.
A traducir un poco.
No, sí, perdón.
Okay, so Lorena was talking about the thing about having the conflict not be the transition of the person, but within the relationship between the two people who know each other very much, and maybe not the other person not like completely understanding the transition, but like within like those layers of intimacy that they have as a couple and how that like develops.
También hay una cosa que realmente, y perdona Daniel, ahora te dejo hablar, que es muy importante, es que en el texto ya estaba muy clara la relación y había algo muy en paralelo a la relación que tenemos Lorena y yo, porque Lorena y yo somos muy cariñosas entre nosotras y esta relación de este matrimonio probablemente habían sido muy cariñosos, pero ellos estaban obligando a sí mismos a no serlo, como a poner un bloqueo entre los dos, porque tú notas que aunque el personaje de Lorena esté como con distancia y tal, en el fondo se muere de ganas de abrazarla, de entenderla, pero es incapaz de poder sobrellevarlo. Y a nosotras nos pasó un poco igual, que somos muy cariñosas y que nos queremos un montón y tenemos mucha relación y eso salta a la vista, pero teníamos que marcar esa extraña distancia. Solo hay un pequeño momento que tocamos las manos y es como ay, y creo que es una cosa muy en paralelo entre los personajes y las actrices.
Me encanta. So Avril was talking about the two characters, how they're how Abril and Lorena have a very similar relationship, an affective relationship with each other, and so how to translate that onto the characters of the screen was very interesting because as in playing the characters, they would hold back from those affective moments or like attention between each other because they were in the conflict, in the tension of the front, like they were in the tense environment, so they had to hold back that effectiveness that exists between the two actresses. So they just like translated that onto the characters. And
wow. Well, it is a beautiful, beautiful film. So thank you so much for joining us. Patty, thank you so much for your translation.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
Patty,
And
thank you all, gracias.
Thank you all so much for being here, joining us. I'm sorry we went over a little bit on time. But Girls Block, love it. It's amazing. And hopefully people keep watching throughout the week of Outfest. So thank you so much, everyone.